I'm wondering if it's possible for you to do an Abhidharma course. If it is, we could announce it today with the last group.
It should be possible, but not so soon. Maybe after a month. Maybe after a month. After a month.
From September, maybe?
Yeah. September is okay.
Okay. That'll be a big highlight for the Buddhist Society.
Okay, yeah.
See, nobody teaches Abhidharma anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very good to have teaching on the Abhidharma.
Okay.
By the way, the other thing is, I should mention that Western people, they like meditation, but they don't like sustained restraint of body, speech, and mind.
Mm-hmm.
So they think it's okay to meditate and then shout at someone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or to swear at somebody. So they don't mind meditating, and lots of meditation, but when they get up from the cushion, they forget all about it. They don't think it's in order to help you when you're walking, talking, being with people, eating, they put it in a box, meditation box, finish, done my practice, and now I go back to doing everything else, they forget. Awareness is, in the Satipatthana Sutta, when the monk knows he is walking, he knows he is walking. When the monk knows he is sitting, he knows he is sitting. When he's lying down, they forget all about that.
Signs of meditation.
I think there's a bit of feedback coming from someone's...
Is it me? No.
Has someone got a phone on or another device? Dhammasami? Is there another device that's making sounds come out?
Is being recorded on video here, and also live on the university's Facebook, which you can see from here, Shansri Buddhist University, on that Facebook. Pardon?
Are we going live now to your Facebook?
Yeah.
So let me introduce you very quickly for the last... I'll introduce you and then we'll say we'll be doing an Abhidharma course.
Okay.
We have to let everyone in first, so maybe starting around 1.5 minutes.
Okay. Well, I don't know if I'm live. Am I live, Marlon?
Yeah.
I'm live? Good. Well, a very big welcome from the Buddhist Society here in London to everybody from all over the world for this last in our series of introducing Buddhism. The title of today's talk is Meditation and Where From, or where are we going to go from here? With the Venerable Dr. Khammai Dhammasami from Shan State Buddhist University in Myanmar. So thank you so much, Ante, for giving us this series of wonderful talks. And I was very delighted to hear that in September you can give a series of talks on Abhidhamma. So I won't take up any more of your time, but just thank you so much for coming and talking to us, and very much looking forward to your talks in September.
Thank you. We are going to start as on the previous days by reciting Namo Tassa 3 times. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. As you can see today, I'm not using a microphone. I would like to check, can you hear me properly? Okay, thank you. Today is about meditation. Shall we say introducing meditation? And here, I'd like to make 1 or 2 important points before we talk about the meditation practice. The first one is that some people think meditation is only for monks and nuns and for people who are ready to renounce the world. I'd like to tell you that this is not the case. Meditation is for everyone. Everyone everyone needs meditation practice, but the benefits that meditation practice can bring. For people who are interested in texts, I'd like to refer you to the discourse on mindfulness called Satipatthana Sutta. Discourse on mindfulness. You can Google this. A few translations will come up. But if you are interested in reading a book or books on this, quite a few of them, 8 Mindful Steps by Sri Lankan senior Pandit, senior monk, who is resident in West Virginia, Pandit H. Gunaratana. 8 Mindful Steps. That's a very easy reading and very clear. And a little bit more academic in nature on the same subject is by Bhikkhu Analayo. The title is The Direct Path, Mindfulness, the Direct Path. That's his PhD thesis. If you, or you can also read a book that is well known to psychologists and neurologists, something like The Heart of Buddhist Meditation by Venerable Nyanaponika. Of course, the books that I recommend you are from Theravada scholar. You can see the reason, because I come from the Theravada Buddhist school. But we also have books like Mindfulness every step behind the most venerable Zen master, Thich Nhat Hanh, the Zen master, an acclaimed book on the subject. I'm talking about books written by monastic scholars who are also serious practitioners. But then you have a lot of books on mindfulness, like Mindfulness for Beginners by John Kabat-Zinn, an emeritus professor at MIT who introduced mindfulness to the secular aspects of life, such as medicine, psychology, and so on. So many of them. You have thousands of books if you go by the title, Mindfulness. To quote the Buddha directly, using the Satipatthana Sutta, the discourse on mindfulness, the foundation of mindfulness, the Buddha talks about maybe 5, but if you would separate some of them, maybe 7 benefits. Maybe 7 benefits. Only maybe the last two, they have something to do with a belief in the Buddhist path. That is realization of the truth and also attaining nirvana. But the other benefits before them, okay, and therefore everyone, something like to relieve, to reduce physical pain and psychological pain, to reduce stress. Okay, I'm directly translating from the Pali. Okay, when I say this, I don't want to recite the Pali because I don't want to confuse you. So, the first 3 or 4 benefits of meditation, according to the Buddha, in this record in this sutta, they are for us to manage our daily stress, anxiety, worry. So you ask yourself, we ask ourselves, do we have anxiety? Do we have stress? Do we have mood swing, like swinging between positive and negative emotion? If yes, then we should try meditation. It's okay even if you don't believe in nirvana, if you're interested in that, it's okay. It's okay. By the way, just bypass. Nirvana means the total eradication of maybe something that we know, anger, fear. It doesn't matter how uncertain the situation is. You won't have fear anymore, because you have replaced fear with compassion and wisdom. To put it another way, the compassion and wisdom that you have developed, they have uprooted anger, frustration, agitation in life, confusion, mood swing, like that. So if you understand nirvana in that way, actually nirvana is something quite encouraging. But if you consider nirvana to be a place like a heaven, okay, somewhere where a believer goes there and live, okay, eternally, then you wouldn't be interested in that. And I want to tell you, that's not Buddhist nirvana either. So this is the first point I like to make, that meditation is for everyone. You don't have to give up your job, you don't have to give up your family. Okay. You can take up meditation. And the meditation practice will help you to enjoy your life better, because it will take away quite a lot of anxiety that you usually go through. So this is the first point I'd like to make. The second point is that meditation practice, or if you like, contemplative exercise, cannot be separated from any other matters in our life. It's something like our attitude, our mindset. Okay. If we have a mindset, okay, that is interested only in ourselves, not in other people, especially not in their pain and joy. This mindset, okay, is not helpful to meditation. If you sit trying to focus on your breathing, you will always feel tense because of the wrong attitude, the wrong mindset. I mentioned in Noble Eightfold Path that the Noble Eightfold Path is also about managing our emotion in daily life. Then, if you are not interested in the emotional reaction pattern, the pattern that you have when you react to something you like and something that you don't like, there's a pattern. Usually people, they just get carried away by those patterns. By those patterns, I'm saying a habit, emotional habit. So if you're not interested in those things, if you just trying to focus on breathing and regard that as the whole meditation, then your meditation wouldn't go very far. What I'm trying to say is that, as you can see, okay, on my head, the wheel, the Buddhist wheel, that's part of the that's the symbol of our university here, Shan State Buddhist University. The symbol, as we have already discussed, is the symbol of the Noble Eightfold Path, the path that consists of 8 factors. Traditionally, we regard 3 out of 8, especially the last 3 factors, as belonging to meditation group, meditation practice. But this is to narrowly interpret the Eightfold Path. If we say meditation comes from the Pali word bhavana, which means to cultivate. then we have to cultivate all the 8 factors of the Eightfold Path, all the 8 factors. Then all the 8 factors, they become meditation. They are all bhavana. If you would allow me to use the Pali word, bhavana. That's B-H-A-V-A-N-A, bhavana. So bhavana is a cultivation, a practice. What do we cultivate? We cultivate those 8 factors. Right understanding, right intention based on positive emotion, and then right speech, right action, right livelihood. You see, the Buddha actually considers right speech, right action, right livelihood part of meditation in this regard. By this I'm saying that, okay, doesn't matter how hard you try in your meditation, if that doesn't bring awareness to the way you communicate with other people, verbal communication, maybe email communication also, not just verbal communication. And then all the action when you are relating to other people, like being aware of your emotion, your volition. So if you don't consider those ethical constituents of the path as meditation, then your meditation will always have shortcoming, drawbacks, because your attitude is so partial and incomplete. So today, when we say we are talking about meditation, we are not just talking about sitting quietly, closing our eyes in Theravada meditation, and opening our eyes in Zen meditation. We are not just talking about this this formal meditation practice. We are talking about the mind being contemplative, being attentive. So when I speak, if I'm aware of my intention, then that's the wisdom factor, right intention. If my intention is positive, certainly this is right intention. Then when I speak, if I'm aware of the benefits and also the consequences that would follow my speech, then this is ethical awareness. Ethical awareness. And for that ethical awareness to be mature, to become mature, to get stronger, we need formal meditation to help it. But formal meditation will only be helpful only when we can integrate, I use the word integrate that contemplative qualities into our daily business. The way we talk to each other in the meeting, at work, the way a bank staff is dealing with his or her customers, the way a driver is dealing with his or her passengers, and vice versa, the way the passengers are dealing with the drivers as well. Because now this is the second point that I have just made. That is, meditation has to be integral with other factors such as attitude and ethics, ethical behavior in daily life. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning, publications on meditation, especially in English, by the scientists and also by the traditional scholars, meditation teachers. There are plenty of them. In Theravada Buddhism, in Mahayana Buddhism, plenty of them. Because of this, I'm just going to introduce meditation to you in the simplest way that I think would be beneficial to anyone who wants to start meditation practice or who wants to help other people to start the practice. The other day we had a question about the length of meditation, how long we should do. First, I'd like to read you from this book. This is the Science of Meditation. Okay, the author, they call meditation science, the science of meditation. This book is by Daniel Goleman and Richard Davidson. Daniel Goleman is the author of Emotional Intelligence, and Richard Davidson is a professor at Wisconsin. He studies neurology, clinical psychology, and meditation. These two authors, they started meditation in the early 70s, and they have never stopped. They studied more and more. So for the last almost 50 years, half a century, they have combined personal practice with professional investigation. So this is what they have come up. I'd like to read you from page 138. The good news for multitaskers. Cognitive control can be strengthened. Undergraduate students, volunteers to try 10-minute session of either focusing on counting their breath. I talk about this later. This is a meditation technique. Or an app comparison task, browsing Huffington Post, Snapchat, or BuzzFeed. Just 3 10-minute sessions. 3 10-minute sessions, altogether just 30 minutes, just half an hour. Just 3 10-minute sessions of breath counting was enough to especially increase their attention skills on a battery of tests. And the biggest gains were among the heavy multitaskers who did more poorly on those tests initially. Multitasking is something that can distract us. We are faced with a lot of distraction. So the research is on those people. Just by doing 10 minutes, one session, 10 minutes each and 3 times, the attention skill develops. This is from the fMRI and EEG, research. People actually take a lot of pictures on your brain in real time when you are meditating. So now let's move to some meditation practice. Today being the last day and we are talking about meditation, it wouldn't make sense if we don't meditate together. Let's meditate for 1 minute together, okay, after my description. But let me try once more to try to persuade people who haven't started meditation to meditate. Why we should meditate. When we are not meditating, our attention skill, we don't know whether it's good enough. We don't know whether there is any problem. We usually think there is no problem. But only after we start sitting, maybe for 5 minutes, not even 10 minutes, then we come to see that our attention span is actually quite poor. What does it mean? It means we get distracted very easily. According to a research done at Wisconsin University and a few other collaborative universities in America, they found that 47% of the working hours, our mind is not on the task we are doing. So we are quite restless. That is why a paper was published as a result of that research, was titled as a restless mind is an unhappy mind. So if our mind is restless, even if our emotion is normal, okay, not much mood swing, not so much short temper, not so irritated. But then, our mind still wanders, still works automatically. If that happens, that mind is prone to unhappiness, prone to being attacked by negative emotion. When our mind is wandering, actually, we think we're not doing anything. But at that moment, the mind or the brain uses up a lot of energy. Our brain, which is only 2% of our body weight, usually uses about a quarter of the energy that the whole body produces. So when it's anxious, when the mind is anxious and the brain is working at the fear center, then the brain, we know the brain as non-specialists, we know that the brain, maybe 5 or 6 areas of the brain are important, and one of them is the fear center. It's a protective mechanism. So when there's no danger, but the brain kicks into the protective mechanism, into being centered on fear and either fight or flee, then we are using up a lot of our energy. It's not sustainable. It's not sustainable for our health, not sustainable for the health of our brain, the physical health, certainly not psychological health. That is why, for the sake of our health, we should start meditation as early as possible. I'm very pleased that mindfulness meditation is being adopted increasingly in many schools in the Western world. In the UK, in Europe, in America, in Canada. So more and more schools are taking up because they can compare clearly between schools that practice mindfulness meditation and the school which don't. The results being between the children are so different. Within 6 months, the disruptive behaviors of the student usually reported to the principal are dropped by 80%, according to some research findings in Canada. So clearly, okay, we should take up meditation, even if we are not interested in nirvana. We should be interested in the welfare and well-being of ourselves and also the people around us, our family members, our working environment. So this is my last attempt for this course to try to persuade you to do more meditation if you are already a meditator, and if you haven't started, to start it straight away in this talk. There are many forms of meditation. The main thing is, the first thing, to choose a physical object. I repeat, a physical object for the mind to focus on. In Buddhism, we talk so much about mind and body, how they coordinate, how they work together, and how they are separate. The speed of the body is supposed to be a lot slower than the speed of the mind. So if the mind is quite restless, for that to calm down, we need to exercise in a way that it would work with something which has a slower speed, that is physical function. So breathing is a physical function. But some people, they look at an object, maybe a candle light, maybe water, maybe a color, Again, this is an object. The relationship between the eyes and the color is slower than the speed of the mind. That is why we choose something which is slower than the mind in order to help the mind to slow down, And only if we slow down, there are things that we can see. For example, what's going on in our thoughts, what's happening with our muscle, physical muscle, if they are tense, if they are relaxed. Only if we slow down that we can see them. A more delicate and subtle thing such as emotional pattern, that one, is hard to see without slowing the mind down, without slowing the thought process down. So it's important to do this. We're going to start with breathing. We can just breathe normal, breathing in, breathing out. We can do this. Many ways of breathing technique, breathing meditation techniques. If you count, many ways of counting the breath again. You can count breathing in 1, breathing out 1. And you increase breathing in 2, breathing out 2, and you go on like that. Maybe up to 5, up to 10. Some people do even more, go even higher. Or you can count one breath, count 1, 2, 3, or maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You count slowly. When you count slowly, now you come to see the problem with your breathing pattern. If your breathing is shallow, if it's short, if the in and out breaths are balanced, if one of them is shorter and the other is not normal either, we are going to discover them. We are going to discover the problems. And that's the first progress that we make, discovering what's wrong with our breathing. If we don't breathe, we are not alive anymore. Breathing is such an important physiological function. Nevertheless, many people who don't meditate, they are not aware that they are breathing. They only notice their breath when they have difficulty breathing. Breathing is a popular meditation object because we can find it here all the time. You can focus on your nostril or you can focus on your tummy. It's okay. For me, I don't have any preference. Some meditation centers, they do follow a certain pattern. But for me, in principle, they all work. They all work because they have been put into test by different meditators and their followers. And they have seen some encouraging benefits. So breathing in and out, in and out. But this is just to try to settle the mind. Just trying to help the mind to develop the capacity of paying attention to a chosen task, a chosen object, at a given moment, then we do need to think about the next step or the next function of meditation, which is to use that attention, that focus, that mindfulness, that concentration into to get that into functioning in the observation of our own thoughts, our own emotion, our own reaction pattern to the environment. Because if the mind becomes defiled, that is negative, it becomes when we are interacting with the outside world. So we really need to pay attention to these things, to the way we interact with the outside world, with other people, at work, or when we are reading our email, when we are talking to other people on the phone, in the meeting, face to face, on a Zoom. We do need to pay attention to our thoughts and emotion. So that is to say, when we are breathing in and out, trying to focus on breathing in and out, even 1 minute, 2 minutes, even for that short length of time, you will see that your mind might be wandering to something else. What you want to do today, what you have done yesterday, what you are thinking about next week, next month, like this. If that happens, I would call that automatic thought. That automatic thought is quite common to everyone. I like to use the word everyone because it is. So don't be discouraged if you find your mind drifting away. That's okay. That's okay. Indeed, you should expect that your mind will be slipping away. What you have to do then is to recognize that wandering mind. Okay, the mind is wandering. You don't even need to say my mind is wandering. You can try, leaving out me and mine. Okay, so that you can properly tune into that function which is wandering. But if you think this is my mind wandering, you are taking it personally. That might affect your ability to observe it objectively. So expect your thought, like automatic thought may come. Expect that the mind will have some emotion and maybe judging others, judging yourself. And the last one I want to say is the physical body, physical sensation. Sometimes you might feel discomfort. Okay, you might feel discomfort. If that's the case, there is nothing wrong with your meditation. Simply, your physical body is in discomfort. Doesn't mean that your meditation is not working. Simply your mind is wandering. Doesn't mean your meditation is not working. we are not talking about the mind not wandering. We are talking about what to do when the mind wanders. How to get to know that about the wandering mind as early as possible. As early as possible. And we are not talking about not having pain in the body, not having physical discomfort. We are talking about how to live with that. How not to let the mind multiply that pain. So we are talking in practical terms. How to use that. Some of you will have heard of MBSR, the way people use this mindfulness, this meditation, meditative awareness in coping with pain, initially introduced by Dr. John Kabat-Zinn at MIT Hospital in America. Now it has gone worldwide. And people have developed further based on that. So let's meditate for 2 minutes and then have some question. The meditation practice is the first one to prepare yourself mentally that you will have you will notice some physical discomfort. You have some wandering mind. You will have some unexpected emotion or maybe some emotion lingering on. You will have some of them. And that's okay. I want to reassure you that's okay. You should tell yourself it's okay. But the second thing is we're going to be focused on breathing. But breathing is not the only meditation object. But today, let's say, is our primary object, primary meditation object. And the other objects should be considered our meditation objects too. And let's call them secondary objects. So primary object and secondary objects. What we do then, just to be mindful of them when they arise. Such as pain, such as positive, negative emotion, negative, automatic thoughts. Just recognize them, just accept them. Okay, this is pain. Okay, this is this automatic thought. If you like, you can say hello. Say hello to your automatic thoughts. Say hello to your emotion. If there's irritation, oh, hello, irritation. Is it you? If you feel pain in your leg, and then focus on that particular point where you feel the pain, and say hello to that. Hello, physical discomfort. Hello, pain. And then return to breathing. So I think we meditate for 1 minute, exactly 1 minute. I'm going to time it, okay? You should sit upright, your feet together. If you sit on a chair, your feet together, and also keep your hands together. This is a sign of being composed. We can start now. Start focusing on the breath. As the wind goes in, just be mindful this is breathing in. As the wind comes out, breathing out. If you like, you can put in a little bit more effort into breathing. Okay, 1 minute is up. If you have any question, I would be happy to entertain them.
Thank you, Bhante. So, the first question I have is, someone asks, in their practice of gratitude, they say thank you to the universe, and is that wrong from a Buddhist perspective to practice gratitude in that way?
Can you repeat once again? In order to do what?
To practice gratitude by saying thank you to the universe in their life.
There's nothing wrong. That's okay. That's okay. We talk about two things. One is sentient being, the other non-sentient being. If you say the universe, if in your mind you might not include living beings. So what I would like to tell you is that it would be very helpful if you also include, thank you the universe and thank you other people. Why you should be grateful to other people? Today we use this Zoom to discuss meditation. Many engineers, spend a lot of their time creating this. But the engineers who have created this Zoom, they have also learned from others. And other people who are not related to IT, they have enabled these IT people, to do what they want, to do what they're interested in. Through tax, by paying taxes, people enable their own government to do something. So, in that sense, we are so interconnected. When a child, grows up and he is 4 or 5, ready to go to school, the school is there. The system is there. Is many centuries' work by many people. When we say government's good, the government builds it, we should be saying that the people build it. Everyone who works and pays their taxes, they do that. People buy a car for themselves, but hardly people build a road. So the roads are built by collective effort. Now, not just in our country, but also in other countries. We go and we pay very minimal. We can use those facilities. So, if you extend to that, your gratitude will get deeper. I talk about this book. These two people, they studied for almost 50 years to write this book. This is one of the books they have written. And their teachers, they mention here. Some are Hindu, and initially and after that, a lot of them are Buddhist meditation masters. And those masters, they are also sustained by other people. Yes, they make effort, but they need other people so that they can make effort. Generations of teachers and all that. So then what about this book? You need people who design the format, and you need people who produce the paper, and people who plant the trees, and people who transport them. I mean, if you hold this book with gratitude, actually you can connect with everyone in the whole world. I don't know where these papers come from. Maybe New Zealand, maybe somewhere else. But this book was published in America. So around the world it comes here. It has passed through many good hands, many good hearts, in order for this book to be sitting on my table. So in that sense, I'm so grateful to everyone. And then, okay, next question, please.
Thank you. A question which asks, how do I work with bad temper, suddenly getting angry and flashing out before you can control it?
I would say, okay, don't try very hard to control your temper. What you should be doing is to be kind to yourself and to develop awareness to see what's happening to you when you have short temper, when a short temper has a reason. Usually we use our temper to justify something. To justify our thinking, sometimes our shortcoming, sometimes to justify the way we treat someone else. Only if we can justify that we feel secure. Otherwise, we don't feel good. So even when we have a short temper, and certainly is a negative emotion, and we can feel that very clearly. Because when you're having a tea, if you all of a sudden, have a short temper, you can't really enjoy your tea anymore. So we know it's negative, we know it's painful. But what I'm trying to say is that we justify our short temper. So my advice to you is not to justify that. When you justify, you blame someone else. Because when you blame someone else, you're actually strengthening this pattern, this emotional pattern. Then if you don't blame someone else, you got to be careful also. You got to be careful still, because you might blame yourself. And blaming yourself is as bad as blaming someone else. So if you are careful of this blaming habit, blaming others and blaming yourself when you have short temper, and the mind is overdriving with all sorts of reasons why your short temper is justified. So if you just pay attention to this one, and then use breathing in and out when you feel okay, short temper. Now you're feeling short temper. Just breathe a little bit deeper. Maybe 2 or 3 times, and check if the mind is attempting to blame. With this, you are actually living with that temper. and living mindfully. We can only learn from this temper if we live with that for a little bit and feel that mindfully. We need to feel that mindfully. We don't need to suppress that. If we feel that mindfully, maybe for 60 seconds, that's exactly 1 minute, maybe 2 minutes, at that moment, trying to see what that short temper is doing you, is trying to do to you. Then I think short temper itself will become a very good resource for compassion enlightenment, because you're going to feel pain, and feeling pain mindfully means you will have compassion for yourself. There's an opportunity to be kinder to yourself. And when kindness becomes a habit, that will replace short temper. Not only that we can manage short temper with kindness, we can also heal any pain, any trauma from short temper. But don't blame yourself. Don't say, well, I'm a short-tempered person, I'm bad, Never judge yourself that way. I'm short-tempered because this person is like this. When I was young, because that person was like that, If we see it that way, we are taking the situation very personally. The whole teaching of Buddhism is to try to find some impersonal perspective to our personal experience. Okay, more questions.
Thank you. Someone asks, if there is no I in Buddhism, is developing a voice or speaking out, either through art, politics, relationships, at work, is that a bad thing in Buddhism because of being too attached to yourself?
We are not talking about I. We are not talking about no I at all. We are not saying there's no I. We are saying there's no everlasting I. We are talking that there's nothing everlasting that we can identify as I. And there's I, but this I is happening in a process. It's changing all the time. So with I, with this middle path understanding of I, that I exist, but I is not unique, I is not everlasting, I is composed of many ever-changing phenomena. If we understand it this way, then we can use I, the idea of I, to be responsible for our action. That's moral responsibility. We need to be responsible. But at the same time, if we think that this I is going to last forever, that will change our behavior. That will change our behavior. We are going to be fixated on the idea of I. How do we do that? We actually cling to our past experiences. If you have suffered once or twice in a meeting, being criticized negatively, perhaps unfairly, then your mind is going to be fixated on that particular incident. That, okay, you have had a painful experience and the world is looking at you negatively and unfairly. You are going to form that, that identity out of that one experience. And you're going to carry that identity with you forever. So if we see the I as everlasting, then we will be living in the past. We get stuck there. And we will carry on the burden of the past with us. So, if you identify yourself as a victim because somebody said something nasty to you at some point in the past, once you have developed this identity, whenever you see anyone who disagrees with your identity, your perception of your I, of yourself, your own identity, you will feel very threatened, you will feel very insecure. So once you have created, you feel the need to defend this perception of I. And whenever people disagree with you, or whenever you think people don't understand your identity enough, that you have suffered or maybe that you have achieved something, then you get upset. Because simply those people, they don't pay enough attention, they don't recognize, they don't agree with your sense of I, with your sense of identity. So we need to follow the middle path here. To deny I altogether is to deny moral responsibility. But to understand I as everlasting, never changing, then we go into the other extreme, as I have just explained earlier. The second sutta of the Buddha and many others, a few other suttas, they actually talk about how narcissism, can arise out of this. Okay, one more question.
Thank you. This question is, how can we deal with hypocrisy in daily life with compassion? Thank you.
You need to find some pain in those people. Hypocrisy is associated, I would say, with fear. With fear. People have to behave differently, try to be what they are not. Holding, a double standard, because they think they would lose something. They would lose something in the eyes of the people. Maybe they would lose in kinds also. Because of that insecure feeling, just to protect them is almost their perceived need, for survival. May not be the actual need, but maybe some kind of perceived need of survival. That is why people develop that kind of thing. So if you can find that kind of pain in those people, which they themselves may not be aware of, then you have the opportunity to empathize with that pain. May not be openly, but when you can feel that pain, then you, instead of getting short-tempered, getting irritated with the hypocrisy, you feel pain, you feel compassion for them. When you feel compassion, the nature of compassion means you want to do something for them, so that they can reduce, or they can get rid of this insecure feeling and hypocrisy. That is to say, if we find a hypocrite and we get irritated. We got to ask ourselves, now do I become part of his problem, or do I become part of a solution to his problem? We got to ask this one. I know condemning hypocrisy is one of the things that people want to do. But if I do that because I feel quite morally superior to them, maybe I feel insecure in some way myself. So this is my thought. Any more question, Marlon?
Yes.
Maybe the last one.
Despite having meditated for a long time, I still can't overcome my problems, like such as defilements. Are there some things that meditation can't overcome, or some people that it can't help?
The central focus of meditation is to see limitation. I use this word in place of suffering. To see limitation in everything we have, in everything we can do, in everything that the world has that other people can do. To see limitation. To see limitation, to focus on limitation. Even when we breathe, our breathing, a lot of limitation. These days, I have been planting a lot of trees, and I read things related to green, to ecosystem. And one research says that our lung, the function of our lung, can only generate about 25% of the oxygen we need. Maybe there are other findings as well, but this particular one from Kentucky in America, they say it's only about 25% that our lung can generate. So clearly there is limitation to what our lung can perform, can function. Because of that limitation, we need trees, we need good environment, less air pollution. So that's the limitation of the body. And some of you may have had just a quick lunch before you join my talk, or maybe some of you are going to have your lunch. Again, the food that you eat, how long is going to last? How many hours? You can know it. No, we can know it. We know it. There's a limit to that. Whether you leave it uneaten, outside, everything has an expiry date. So in that sense, it also has limitation. This limitation is to the rulers, to the richest people, to the wisest people, to the most educated people, the kindest people. Everyone has limits. So by focusing on the limitation of our good health also, limitation of our energy drops every day, that we need to recharge every day. So by focusing on these things, not just developing concentration, but use concentration to actually focus on these things. On these things, I think they will have direct impact in changing the pattern of our mind. Of course, we got to be mindful of the destruction in our daily life that might have negative impact on our mind. So just to meditate and focus on breathing, developing concentration, that's not enough. That's what I'm saying. And we need to go straight away into the behavior of our mind and then orientate that to some form of understanding. Here I have just explained understanding the world, understanding our experiences, understanding our life with limitation. Thank you. I think we have run out of time.
Thank you.
Say, am I live, Marlon?
Yes.
I just want to say a big thank you, Venerable Dhammasami, for a wonderful series of talks at Shan State Buddhist University. And thank you all from the Buddhist Society, from Marlon, and from Odin, who have done a lot of work to put these talks on. A very big thank you to you all. And hopefully we can all join together in September for the Abhidharma course, which we're all looking forward to. And in the meanwhile, big thank you, Bhante, and good practice to everyone.
Thank you.